eligible to practice in all 50 states. So once it's basically, because we're AVMA accredited, it means there's no restrictions when you come back to practice. So it also means there's no extra board exams or foreign tests that you have to take. So we were founded in 1982, so we have over nearly 6,000 alums currently practicing around the world. We do offer federal financial aid that you can apply for, and that can go towards your entire cost of attendance at Ross. So your flights, your housing, your tuition, basically everything you need in that school. We do have 30 clinical partners around the world that you can do rotations at. 24 of those are in the US, and then we have 6 international affiliates. And finally, our facilities on campus are very technologically advanced. We're constantly making updates to ensure that we're keeping up with the speed of vet medicine, but also really giving the best education possible for our students. So now I'll kind of walk you through the timeline if you were to attend Ross. So as I mentioned, your first 7 semesters will take place down in St. Kitts where you do your basic sciences. We also call them your preclinical studies. So we're a little bit unique in that we actually have a year-round program. So we have classes that sit 3 times per year, January, May, and September. So it means that students can apply anytime throughout the year. And it also means that you don't really have a summer break. You get about a 2-week break in between each class. So this is kind of nice because, you know, as you probably know, vet school really does build on itself. So having each semester just kind of start, you know, after 2 weeks where you get to refresh and recharge and get started really is kind of a benefit for students as they're going through the program. So once you finish your 28 months down in St. Kitts, then you come back to the US for 1 year for clinical rotations. And during that time, everyone's going to take something called the NAVLE exam. It's also known as the North American Veterinary Licensing Examination. This is the board exam that you must take and pass in order to practice in the States. So whether you attend Ross, you go to UC Davis, wherever you go to vet school, you must take and pass this exam. So once you finish your 10 semesters, then you earn your DVM, and then you're ready for licensure. So again, this is the same path that a US vet student would go through. The biggest difference is you're down on St. Kitts versus doing your basic sciences. Again, there's no limits when you come back to practice, and there's no additional board exams that you'd have to take. So now I'll kind of walk you through the facilities that we have on campus. I will let you know that we really do heavily focus on a hands-on curriculum. I know that Cal Poly SLO's slogan is learn by doing, and I think it's a great program to really bridge you into what we offer at our vet school. So the hands-on training starts right in semester 1. The clinical skills lab, the anatomy lab, you know, you'll initially in semester 1 start working with cadavers, you know, developing suturing techniques, learning psychomotor skills, and basically learning how to use all the instruments that you're going to use in surgeries and procedures moving forward. And these facilities are going to have you in very, very small groups, maybe 4 or 5 students per group with a faculty or staff member with each one of those groups. We want you to have a lot of hands-on work because there's no benefit for you to be working with a cadaver with 30 students with the same cadaver. So those groups will remain very small. As you know, vet skill does build on itself. So the hands-on training will just continue to grow as you go further through the program. So eventually you'll start working in the large animal teaching facility and our small animal clinic on campus. So the large animal facility actually houses about 550 animals. So you'll work with horses, with donkeys, cows, sheep, goats, initially learning a lot of restraining techniques and how to handle these animals. But then by your 7th semester, which is your last one on campus, you'll actually be required to conduct at least 6 large animal surgeries yourself as part of the curriculum. So in addition to that, we do have a small animal clinic on campus, and this is a working clinic where students and faculty actually do bring their pets. So again, initially you'll be rotating with the clinicians there, seeing cases that are coming in, but by your 7th semester, you'll be required to conduct another 2 surgeries yourself as part of the curriculum. So before you head off to your rotations, you'll have 8 surgeries under your belt, as our goal is to make you practice ready by the time you start those rotations. So here's an overview of where St. Kitts is located. So we're located in the West Indies in the Caribbean. And these are the different airports that you can connect to get down to St. Kitts. So for you guys going from SLO, probably SFO or LAX would be your 2 best options. And now we actually have airports in Minneapolis and Dallas that connect directly to St. Kitts. So that does help us out on the West Coast a little bit. But when you actually get down to the airport, Ross has a welcoming committee that will greet you there, that will help you get through customs. They'll get you on the van, and they'll take you right to your on-campus housing. You know, we want to make sure the transition is very easy for you, as a lot of students have maybe never been away from home before or traveled internationally. So again, we want to make sure this transition is very easy for you. Just to kind of give you a couple of quick facts about our island. The island itself is about 67 square miles. It's very easy and accessible to get around. Everyone there does speak English. Biggest difference is you will drive on the other side of the road, so it does take a little bit of getting used to. But if you like to hike, scuba dive, snorkel, surf, anything like that, it's all very easy and accessible to get to. A fun fact about St. Kitts is we do have an overpopulation of monkeys on the island. So they actually outpopulate people about 2 to 1. So everywhere you go, whether you're going to the beach or you're on campus, you'll probably see monkeys running around. And they do probably snag your lunch if you leave it out, just like a crow would, so you got to watch out for that kind of stuff. But we do have some pretty cool research that takes place with the monkeys that I'll tell you about in a few minutes. So for the first semester, like I said, we want to make sure that transition is very easy for you. So it's not required, but we do encourage students to live on campus for the first semester. On the on-campus housing is fully furnished. All the utilities are included in your rents. Of course, you can walk to and from campus. There are study halls downstairs. And I think it's a great way to really get to know the cohort that's working around you. You're away from home. You're in a rigorous curriculum. We want to make sure the transition is very easy for you. So, I think living on campus really lends, is very complimentary for that. If you do want to bring a pet, that is absolutely fine. Any pet that's under 35 pounds, can stay on campus, cats or dogs. So this can kind of help you with the transition down to campus as well, to kind of have your furry companion with you living on campus. And then after the first semester, everyone's going to move off campus. And we actually help with this transition as well, as we actually vet the landlords that we work with on St. Kitts. So our housing department, can work with you on where you want to live, what you want to spend, if you want roommates, and we kind of help find you housing based on what you're looking for. So some students want to be in walking distance of campus, so they can, walk to and from school every day. We also have housing options that are a little bit further away, maybe like 15 minutes away. This picture on the left kind of showcases Frigate Bay, which is closer to the beach, closer to restaurants, things like that. So if that's kind of what you're looking for, you can go that route. But again, all of these houses and apartments will be fully furnished, everything down to your utensils. If you do want to bring a pet, again, we do have pet-friendly houses that you can stay at. When it comes to bringing a pet, your dog or cat just needs to be up to date on their vaccinations. And then when you get down to your housing, they just need to be quarantined in your house or backyard for 30 days, and then they're good to go. But again, this is a very easy transition to move off campus, as we really help you kind of make that transition because you've never been to St. Kitts before, so I want to make sure it's very easy for you. So another way to really collaborate with the students around you is through the clubs that we have on campus. So we have about 30 clubs and organizations that you can get involved with. And the first one we like to highlight is the SABMA Club. So maybe you want to get involved in student government. Maybe you want to handle some leadership roles. So the SABMA Club really allows you to get very involved in campus and the different things that they're doing each semester. So you can join the SABMA Club initially, kind of learn how the program works, and then work your way up to an executive board position and maybe run for a presidency or vice presidency. But this is a great club that will oftentimes come back to the States to do different conferences that are going around the country, things like that. So if you're looking to get involved with leadership, SABMA is a great club to look into. And in addition to that, like I said, we have quite a few other clubs that you can get involved with, and these are some of them listed here. So some students really want to get involved with animal welfare on the island. So they might join the PAWS Club or the Feral Cat Project that works with the stray cat population on St. Kitts. Maybe you want to get more involved in the vet school clubs that we have. So we do have a surgery club, a radiology club, ophthalmology club. Maybe you're very interested in running your own business when you graduate. We do have a business club on campus. And then finally, we do have clubs that have absolutely nothing to do with vet medicine, because sometimes you do need a break from vet school. So we have a scuba club and a country western dancing club. So just some of these clubs that you can look at, as you're going through the program. Again, I think it really helps you get to know students around you. And I will tell you that on campus, it's a very collaborative environment. Students are really working together, as you're all coming from somewhere else. You're all going through the same program. So it's not a competitive environment. Students really do lean on each other to ensure they find success in our DVM program. So that is kind of a brief overview of your time on the island. Now I'll talk about the transition back to the United States. So we're affiliated with 24 schools back in the US that are listed here. So in your seventh semester, which is your last on campus, you'll actually sit down with the clinical dean and discuss the options of where you can come back to in the US and the criteria for each school. And then you'll pick your top four choices, and you'll be matched based on your GPA in vet school and the availability of the school back in the States. So assuming you pass the curriculum on the island, you are actually guaranteed a rotation spot back in the US. And I will say that most of our students will get back to one of their top four choices when they're making their selection. So when you're making your choice, of course, region is a big portion of where students want to come back to. You guys live in California. A lot of students want to come back to Davis because it's close to home. But when you're making that selection, make region a part of that choice, but also think about what you want to focus on when you graduate from vet school. We don't track at Ross. We do a very large, broad curriculum, large animal, small animal, exotic animal medicine. When you come back to the States for rotations, everyone will do certain core rotations, including internal medicine, emergency medicine, etc. But then each school will offer different elective opportunities in different fields that you might have an interest in. So if you're looking at equine medicine as a possible career path, you might want to select a school that's going to give you more options in equine medicine as opposed to something that's going to look more at, exotics or companion animal medicine. So just something to think about when you're making that selection back in the United States. And in addition to the 24 schools we have in the US, then we also do have 6 international affiliates you can do rotations at. And these are also all AVMA accredited schools. So this means that you could do your rotations in one of these universities, take the NAVLE, and still be eligible to practice in all 50 states because they hold that accreditation. So I will let you know that we do have enough clinical spots for all of our students back in the US. So you don't have to go internationally if you don't want to. But again, I just think this is a great opportunity to continue that study abroad experience. And depending on what type of medicine you want to focus on when you graduate, Massey University in New Zealand might offer you something that you're looking at, or maybe Royal Vet College in London. So just a great opportunity to look at some other international options as you're continuing your DVM program. So I'll tell you about our faculty. We do get a lot of questions about where they're coming from. Are they accessible to students? I will say that our faculty really does come from around the world. I think this brings a real global experience to our students. As our dean, for example, Dean Callanan is from the UK and Ireland. In the top left there, that's one of our clinical deans. That's Dr. Sitoli. He's from South Africa. We have faculty coming from the United States, from Australia, from different parts of Europe. So again, I think it really brings a global experience to our students as they're going through our program. And then most of these faculty members do hold a DVM. A lot do have a PhD, and then we do have some board certified DVMs on campus as well. And when it comes to accessibility, if you need to meet for office hours, they are available for you. If you need extra time in labs, anatomy lab, clinical skills lab, probably will. They will make sure the labs can stay open for you at later hours. But the bottom line is they are there to support you. They really are a teach first type of faculty. There's research that takes place I'll tell you about in a few minutes, but really the faculty wants to support our students. And that's also complemented by our Student Success Center on campus. So the Student Success Center, or the SSC as we call it, really helps students learn how to study in vet school. So, maybe you struggle on that first block exam in your first semester. They'll actually seek you out to discuss, how you can bolster your study skills to improve the next time. Maybe you need advising sessions. Maybe you want to talk to a mentor or a counselor on campus, having a hard time adapting to island life, things like that. So we do have a lot of support between the SSC, the faculty, and our staff to ensure that our students find success in the program. So research, we have a lot of different research opportunities that's really cool that students can get involved with. And these are some of the different projects that we're working on right now. I will tell you this is an evolving list. So of course this changes as faculty members come up with new projects. Students seek out new things to study. So this is an evolving list, but different ways you can get involved is you can actually volunteer for some of these projects. Or if you want to take it the next step further, you can actually apply for like a research assistant position as an RA and work X amount of hours for a small stipend. But either way, you can get involved with working with our sea turtle population on St. Kitts. So we have these large leatherback sea turtles that get up to, I'd say 1,000 pounds. They actually get bigger than that. But if you kind of want to monitor their habitat, how they lay eggs, things like that, students get very involved with that. I mentioned the overpopulation of monkeys on St. Kitts. They do actually affect the farming community there. So there's a lot of work on how to control the monkey population there. We also have a large donkey population on our campus. So there's a lot of research done with the donkeys as well. So again, any of these are really available for students to get involved with if that's something that you'd like to take advantage of. So another way to kind of take the research the next step further is to look at a postgraduate program that we offer. So first thing I'll highlight is One Health. I know that there is a One Health club actually on the campus of Cal Poly SLO. So I don't know if any of you are part of that or you're familiar with One Health, but basically it's really the correlation of humans, animals, and the environment and how we all coexist. I think obviously right now in the times that we're living in with COVID-19, One Health is very I guess it's top of mind for all of us. So we actually offer something called a certificate in One Health that you can actually take advantage of while you're completing your DVM. So it'd be a certificate program online that you can complete in conjunction with your DVM. And if you'd like to take it kind of a next step further, you can apply those credits to a master's program once you graduate from your DVM, and then you can complete a master's in One Health. So that's one option you can look at. Another option you can look at is getting a master's in research. So this is where you can actually do a DVM and a master's program in conjunction with each other. Another way to do that is to actually do a DVM for 3 semesters, then take 1 year to do your master's, then do the rest of the time to finish your DVM, and you'll graduate with a dual degree. So again, this is not required or anything, but it's, I think, a great opportunity to kind of broaden your horizons a little bit while you're going through your DVM program. And I recommend, and most of our faculty do as well, start out working as an RA, volunteering, getting your feet wet in research before taking on the second degree. But it's definitely something you can take advantage of as you're going through the program. So that's an overview of Ross and what we offer to our students. Now I'll kind of walk you through the admissions process if you were to apply to our program. So there are several ways that you can apply to Ross. The first one I'll talk about is VEMCAS. Maybe some of you have submitted already, are looking to submit in the next year or so, or don't even know what VEMCAS is. That's totally fine. VEMCAS is a fantastic application service that allows students to apply to multiple vet schools kind of in a one-stop shop. So you basically upload all your transcripts, your GRE, everything you need for your applications. You click all the schools you want to apply to, you hit submit, boom, they go out to all of us, and then we process your applications. So let's say VEMCAS is closed, or you are applying at an off time. You can actually apply directly through our website at any time, and we can process your application directly. As I mentioned, we have 3 start dates per year, January, May, and September. So we can accept applications all throughout the year. So there's not really a deadline for you to apply. You can apply pretty much anytime. So there are several reasons why we have 3 start dates per year. And I'll kind of highlight some of those reasons for you right now. The reason for that is we want to make sure that all of our class sizes remain very balanced. So like I said, we want you to have a lot of interaction with your professors, especially in the lab settings. So by having 3 start dates, it really balances out our classes. The other benefit here too is depending on when you graduate, or if you're looking to take a gap year, it really gives you some flexibility as to when you want to start in the program. So I apologize. That's my 3-year-old in the background. He's running to his his bedroom. He's watching Disney Plus. So anyway, so we have 3 start dates per year, so that students can start pretty much any time throughout the year. So let's say you're taking that gap year to get more experience, take the GRE, things like that, but you actually decide you want to start sooner. You don't have to wait all the way until September to start. You can start sooner, whether it's January or May. The other benefit here too is on the back end, when you're starting your clinical rotations, we have clinical spots held aside for every class that sits. So you wouldn't have to delay basically starting your rotations. You could start pretty much any time throughout the year for your clinical rotations. So here's a breakdown of the curriculum requirements here. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but if you do have specific questions about classes that you're taking, things like that, you can ask me afterwards. You can email me your transcripts, things like that. I'm happy to review anything for you. But the couple that I will highlight just for clarification, math would be stats or calculus. English would be a writing composition course. And then for your electives, that could be anything from comparable anatomy to intro to business, foreign language, anatomy and physiology, psychology. So we do require at least 48 college credits. for students to apply that include these prereqs, and then you can apply to our program. So in theory, you don't have to finish your bachelor's degree if you are looking to start sooner, or maybe you're a career changer and coming back to school to knock out prereqs. It could get you on a faster track to start vet school if you maybe don't want to if you don't feel like you need that bachelor's degree. So here's the admissions criteria that we look at for our students. So we'll look at all of these factors here. And I will say in my time with the school, as I mentioned, I've been with Ross for almost 7 years now. We really do take a holistic approach when looking at our students. So we'll of course look at your GPA. We'll look at GRE scores. Average GPA for students coming in is probably right around a 3.2 with a GRE of maybe right around a 300. But I will say the GPA score is really an average and not a benchmark of where you must be at. So we'll look at upward trends in your academics for students who maybe struggled early on but really improved as they went along. Or maybe you worked while in school or played a sport. All of these factors can impact a GPA sometimes, and so we'll take that into account while looking at our students. The GRE, as you can see, says optional for 2021. Due to COVID and the times that we're in right now, obviously a lot of students are trying to get into testing centers which are closed, or changing dates a lot, or maybe you're trying to take it at home and there's technical issues. We just found to ease the burden for that, we'll make it optional for 2021. If you have taken it or you feel like you want to take it and can do well in it, you can definitely submit your scores, but it's not required. But if you do feel like it maybe offset a lower part of your application, feel free to definitely submit it if you'd like to do that. So we'll look at where you went to school. We do require at least 2 letters of recommendation, a professional from a DVM, and 1 academic letter. Any experience you have working with animals, we do require at least 150 hours to ensure that you've understood what a clinical setting is like, whether you've worked as a vet tech, vet assistant, you've gotten some shadowing experience, anything like that. It says personal essay. We do require the same standards that VEMCAS requires, which are 3 questions that you're supposed to answer, and that would suffice our personal statement. And then finally, when it comes to the interview, if you are granted an interview, I actually handle a lot of the West Coast interviews for students, so chances are you'll probably interview with myself. We'll basically go through your academics, your clinical work, your motivation to pursue vet school and vet medicine. And then my role is to translate that information to the admissions committee, so they basically get to know who you are as they make the final decision. So I will say for the interview, this is obviously a very stressful time for students of, what should I say? What should I, be doing? Be yourself. I will say I've been doing this for a long time. I've been in those really stressful interviews where you can't breathe and you don't know what to say. I try not to be a very intimidating person. I hope I'm coming off that way right now, but that's not how I'm going to get to know you if it's very stressful. So definitely highlight some cool things that you've done, whether it's in research, leadership, clinical work, etc. If you've struggled in your academic career at any point in your application, talk about what you've done to overcome some of those challenges. Because my goal is to advocate for you. I want you to get into our program. So, definitely highlight some of those things. And then finally, I will say, please dress professionally. And I know that sounds like a very basic concept, but I've interviewed students in t-shirts before, or if it's a virtual interview, which of course everything is right now, I've seen cats walking across the screen, things like that. So just make sure you're in a professional setting, as that will go in the evaluation for the admissions committee. So finally, there are 3 decision possibilities that can come back from the committee. There's acceptance, there's denial, and then there's something that we have called the Vet Prep program. So Vet Prep is designed for students that we feel show potential for success at Ross, but maybe they haven't fully demonstrated in their academic career. So this is a 1-semester program that takes place in St. Kitts, where students take these courses listed here. If they pass the curriculum in Vet Prep, they are guaranteed a spot in first semester. So think of it as like a bridge program to vet school. We feel that students that can handle Vet Prep can handle first semester. It's a really small class size. It's got a very high pass rate. And it's a great opportunity to prove that, if I can handle this, then I can be directly admitted into first semester. And then finally, this is the breakdown of your basic sciences and your clinical training. So this is pretty comparable to out-of-state tuition or a private university. But like I said, we do accept federal financial aid, so you can apply through FAFSA if you're looking to get some student loans. And the difference between Graduate Plus loans and maybe undergrad loans is that Graduate Plus loans are not based on what your parents make. So if you do need to take out the full cost of attendance, you are able to do so because the federal government basically understands that graduate school is more expensive. So We do also offer scholarships that you can apply for as you're going through the program and as you're applying to our program. And if you have the opportunity to work with a Ross alum, let's say, or get some shadowing experience and they can write you a letter of recommendation, we do offer something called the Alumni Legacy Scholarship that can give you tuition money or scholarship money towards your tuition. So just something to think about. So that is all I have tonight. Like I said, I really like to go through the presentation and leave some time open for questions at the end. Again, there's the link on the bottom and the QR code, the one that says Cal Poly on it. If you want to take a picture of that or type that into your phone, that's how you can sign into the presentation and get some access to some of the webinars that I was talking about before. But I guess I can open it up for the chat feature, or if people want to just unmute their mics, if they have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything for you.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah.
How many of your students would you say receive financial aid?
I would say a good majority, to be totally honest. There are some students that, are able to pay fully or have other means to pay for it, but I would say a strong majority of students are using federal financial aid.
And then, sorry, one more question.
Yeah, please.
Is the GRE only optional for class of 2021, or are you guys going to continue that?
At this point, that's all I've heard. Our admissions committee feels there's a lot of correlations to how students do on the GRE that correlate with how they do on the NAVLE and do in the program. So in theory, we've always required it because we feel that it is very beneficial for them making their decisions. But as of now, January, May, and September of 2021, we'll waive it. But I haven't heard yet after that point.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I have a question as well.
sure.
You said you had rolling admissions, so I was just wondering when that cuts off. So if like you still wanted to be considered for 2021, what those dates are.
Yeah, so we don't officially have any cutoff dates. So, it really just, once the class becomes full, then we close that class. And then basically, let's say you applied for January of 2021, and you submitted your application. And by the time everything came through, it ended up being full. You would actually just roll your application in the next class, which would be May. So generally, I would say within a month or two before the class sits, generally that's when we kind of move to the next class, but there's not an official cutoff date. I will say that September is generally the most sought after class, of course, because it's kind of the traditional start date. So we generally do have a wait list a lot sooner for that class. So maybe by late summer, that's when that class maybe becomes full. And so then we basically roll students to the next class, which is January. But we never overseat because that would not be a benefit to you not having access to your professors and things like that. So,
Thank you.
yep. Any other questions, guys? You can type it in the chat too if you don't feel comfortable talking. Either way is fine.
I have a fun question.
Please.
What is your favorite aspect or commonly most favorite aspect of going to school out of country, specifically in the Caribbean or out of like the US 50 states?
Yeah. So, first off, the Caribbean is a beautiful place to be. If you've never been there before, they talk about island life. It's a very slow-paced, mellow lifestyle. So, when you go out to eat, for example, it takes 45 minutes or so to get your food. And the servers and the cooks, they're not being rude. It's just they're not in a hurry to do anything. And it's just kind of that's the way the lifestyle is there, which I think really balances well with the rigorous curriculum you're going through because you're so fast-paced, going, trying to learn all this stuff. And then you go out to dinner and you're like, wow, I guess I'm going to sit here for a while and look at the beach and wait for my food. So I think it's a really nice balance for it. But I think honestly, I mentioned it before, it's such a collaborative environment with the students around you. You're all in this new environment going through the same program together. And I think it's, I don't know, I think it's just a really great way to go through vet school. And then when it comes to the local community out there, Petitions are very friendly. We do a lot of work for animal welfare and giving back to the island because, we're the guests in the country of St. Kitts. So the more we can do for St. Kitts, the more we try to do. And as a student, you can get as involved or as little involved as you'd like to get. But I encourage you to get involved with the culture. The food is great. The people are great. If you can give back to the community in different aspects, I just think it's 2 years and 4 months that you'll really never forget. And I can say that the alums that I work with now, when we go to different events around the country, whether they meet and they were in the same class together or not, they automatically have this connection of, hey, so when you were on the island, was this professor there? Or was this happening? You know, so it's just it's a very tight-knit community of Rossies. That's what you're called when you graduate. So I guess that was like 4 aspects that I really enjoy. But yeah, I think those are some pretty big attributes of the program.
Awesome, thank you.
Sure.
Well, I have a question as well.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I didn't quite catch it if you said it during the presentation, but do you know how many applications you get like per semester?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think for September, like I said, it's the most sought after class. So we usually get probably between 13 to 1,400 applications for September. January and May are a little bit, well, they're quite a bit lower actually. You probably get maybe 500 or 600 for January, and then maybe 400 for May. So with that being said, every class is going to be reviewed the same way. The admissions committee, it's not like it's easier to get into a certain class rather than others, but because we get more applications for September, generally that class fills up faster than the other classes. But yeah, I think that's probably about the breakdown of, you know, each class that for application wise that comes in.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions, guys? All right, well, I want to be aware of everyone's time, so I'll let you get back to your meeting and everything, but I really appreciate your time. I actually didn't get a chance to email her today, but if you get a chance, tell Dr. Sprayberry I say hi. I always like to sit down and have coffee with her before I come down to the pre-vet club meetings. But yeah, again, if you have questions, whether you're ready to apply in 6 months or you're looking at a couple years down the road, if you want me to review transcripts, anything like that, please feel free to reach out with any questions that you have. I'm happy to answer anything for you. So, but yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you again so much for coming tonight, and we'll spread the video to all of the different pre-vet students who weren't able to make it tonight. And if anyone has any additional questions, I'm sure they can reach out to you with the email, or you can reach out to me and I can pass it along. But thank you again so much for coming.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.